everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Norwenglish Knitting podcast. My name is Lizzy and I'm coming to you from Bergen in Norway, although I'm originally from Surrey in the UK. You can find me on Instagram as the Norwenglish Knitter and on Ravelry as LizzyHut94. I'll be writing the show notes for today's episode down below, as well as putting a link to my projects page on Ravelry and a link to the group that I've created on Ravelry called the Norwenglish Knitting Podcast, where I post the show notes for all the episodes, and there's a couple of threads on there as well for people to say hello and post pictures of what they're working on so that I can see. So before I start today's episode, I wanted to address what's currently going on in the world, but particularly in regards to what's going on in America. I didn't feel like it was right to just start the episode without saying anything, because it is such a big thing, and I think it's really important to talk about. I can't believe that in the year 2020 there is still so much racism and inequality going on in the world, and I want to make it really clear that absolutely everyone is welcome here to this podcast, regardless of race, colour, gender, however you identify. Absolutely everyone is welcome, and the things that I see going on right now is really upsetting. I was actually born in Minnesota. My family and I lived there for 4 years. So we returned to the UK when I was 3, but I still feel like I have some kind of connection to America, and I just think what's going on is really horrible. So I'm not going to say much more, but I just wanted to address it. But I think it's important to have places like this online that people can maybe escape to a little bit, and just have a little bit of relaxing time. So maybe you want to grab your knitting or crochet or whatever craft it is that you do, and maybe a cup of tea or a coffee, and just relax with me while I go through the things that I've been working on. So it's been a couple of weeks since I last recorded, and finally we've been having some really great weather. So quite a lot of sun, it's been quite warm, and there's been almost no wind, which is quite unusual for where me and my husband live. We live right by the sea, which you might be able to see in the video, and that means that it's generally quite windy, so we really cherish the days where there's almost no wind. And I've got a little kind of vegetable garden and small greenhouse, so I really cherish the days where it's nice weather and I can do some gardening outside. So I've kind of got my 2 hobbies, one outdoor hobby and one indoor hobby, being the knitting and the crafting. So depending on the weather will depend on which one I'm doing. So I haven't done a whole lot of knitting in the last 2 weeks, but I have done a little bit, enough to show today. And this past weekend was a bank holiday weekend here in Norway. Me and my husband travelled to his family's cabin, which was the first time that we've been there since, I think, January. So it was really nice to go back, and his family joined us as well, so that was really lovely. So yeah, it's been weird not being able to go there for so many months. During the kind of lockdown, I guess you could call it, here in Norway, people were not allowed to go to their cabins for quite a few months, so it's been nice to get back there and just relax. and I did take some knitting with me, but I didn't really do much. I was just enjoying people's company and just kind of relaxing in other ways. But now that I'm back home, I have been doing a little bit of knitting again. So just grab my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. Sometimes when I watch the recording back, I think of things that I've forgotten to say, so I'm trying and be a little bit more organised. So the first thing that I wanted to show was a half object, and you can probably guess that it's another sock. I'm a little bit addicted to sock knitting at the moment. But I think it's just really nice to have small projects on the go, and they're quite inexpensive because you don't need a lot of yarn to finish them, and they knit up relatively quickly. So last week I showed a knitting like a sock booklet that my mother-in-law gave me, and showed some different ones that I was planning on making, and these were the ones that I decided to make, and I've finished one of them. Here it is, and I'm quite close to finishing the second one. I'm really liking these. The yarn that I'm using is, so I've got the purple colour, which is a Sandnes garn, Sandnes Sisu, I don't know how to say that, but the colour is 4363, and this is Ida Superwash in the colourway 303, and they're both I would say a fingering weight, and they're both 80% wool, 20% nylon, and they're both superwash. I try to avoid superwash where possible, but sometimes I just have to go with what my local shop provides, and it's just kind of really basic commercial yarn. So, and I'm using 3mm needles. The pattern is written for I think 2.5mm needles with a stitch count of 28 stitches per 10 centimetres. I used 3mm needles because I wanted to use my 9-inch circulars, and I only had 3mm or 3.5mm. So I went with the 3, and I got 32 stitches per 10 centimetres. That's in the colourwork section. So I don't know, either I'm a really tight knitter or the gauge in the pattern is really tight. I know that my mother-in-law knit these same socks, and she used a 2.5mm needle, and the socks are really, really tight on her. So if you're going to make these, just be aware of that and check your gauge as you're going along. You might need to change your needle size as well. And also the pattern, so if I show in the picture, the colourwork chart goes all the way down the sock, but it doesn't explain how to incorporate the gusset decreases into that, because this sock uses a heel flap, heel turn gusset construction. It just assumes that you know how to do that. So that was a little bit of a headache, and I had to do quite a bit of maths with that, and I ended up just kind of giving up on trying to make the pattern go across the gusset decreases. So I just worked out how many stitches would be the gusset decreases, and I just did those in purple colour. So it's just a solid colour, which you can see this little triangle here. And yeah, I'm quite happy with how they turned out. I ended up, because my gauge was different, I ended up, I think, just because I've measured my feet before for socks, so I just compared it to that, and it's a 10 stitch repeat, so I just worked out how many stitches I would need. So I think I did 70 stitches instead of 60, which the pattern calls for. I think this is a purchasable pattern. I don't think it's free, and honestly I don't think I would buy it if I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't think the pattern is written particularly well. It's got one size for women and one size for men. The gauge was really tight, and it didn't explain the gusset decreases very well in relation to the colour work. So yeah, I just used it for the colour work chart and just knit the socks how I normally would otherwise. I didn't really use the pattern that much. That being said, I still want to make some more of their patterns. Again, probably just using the colour work chart. So I'll show those now. I've got these from my booklet as well. So I really like these ones. So I might be making these next, or I might be making these ones next. I haven't decided yet. I'll probably make both of them at some point, but I don't know which ones I'll make next. But I'm really enjoying doing colour work socks. So I'll probably be doing quite a few more in the coming months, especially as they're quite inexpensive projects to do. So I'm trying to save up at the moment for a larger project like a colour work cardigan or sweater or something like that. So that's I don't have any finished objects. That's the only half object that I have this episode. So now on to works in progress. So the first one I will show is my Teroldego Shawl by Caitlin Hunter, which I think I've showed in almost every episode so far. But it is taking me a little bit of time to do this. So let's see. I never know quite how to hold this up to show it, but I finally finished the lace section, which I'm really happy about. And if you haven't seen it before, there's a little bit of lace at the bottom and colour work, and then some striping, and this lace pattern, which I don't know how well you'll be able to see on camera, especially as I haven't blocked it yet. And last time I showed this, I was in a bit of a dilemma about the yarn that I bought. So you might be able to see that these two colours here are slightly different because I had bought the wrong one online, and I wasn't sure whether to use it or order the right one, but I decided just to use it because I don't like wasting yarn, and the colours are so similar that it didn't really matter anyway. And I actually am really happy with how it's turned out using these kind of two tones. And I tried to kind of fade it in, so a few rows before I was going to start the new colour, I held it double with the old colour for some of the rows, but I think that was kind of unnecessary. You can't really see it, and there's still like a very visible line where the two colours change. And now I'm on to the last section, which is just this solid colour, and then so I'm quite close to finishing this now. Finally, I think I cast this on in February. Yeah. So it's taken me a little while, but it's nice to have projects that you can kind of just pick up and every now and then and make slow progress on. So I've really enjoyed this pattern so far. It's really well written, really easy to follow. This is the first shawl that I've ever made, and haven't had any issues really. Apart from the fact that this lace section took me what felt like forever, and there was one point where I dropped a couple of stitches and it gave me the biggest headache. I was trying to figure out how to fix it, like drop down and fix it, but it was right where some of the yarn overs were, and it was getting all tangled, and so I had to pick back a couple of rows, which took a while, and then I put it down for a while because I was just a bit annoyed with it. But I finally finished, and yeah, I should be finishing this very soon. I've talked about the yarn that I've used and the colours so many times in the other episodes, so if you're interested in that you can watch those, or you can go to my projects page. I'm not going to repeat all of that again. And this is the amount that I have left of the kind of ready colour. So yeah. Okay, let's see. The next work in progress I have is a dishcloth that I've been working on. I think I showed a couple of episodes ago the ball band dishcloth that I made using the Viking of Norway bamboo yarn, and I have some left of both of the colours that I used, so I wanted to make some more dishcloths. I've been really enjoying using the one that I made with this yarn. It absorbs water really well, but also dries quite quickly, and is really, really efficient, wiping down the kitchen countertop and things like that. It's been working really well, so I'm looking forward to having some more of those, and I definitely recommend making some of your own dishcloths if you haven't done so before, either using cotton or bamboo or something like that. So I wasn't sure whether to make the same pattern again or do a different one. I was leaning more towards doing a different one just because it's more interesting. And one of my lovely viewers, Jacqueline, recommended that I look at Purl Soho. So thank you so much for that recommendation. I really liked their patterns, and it's great that they have free patterns as well. So I decided to make the Waffle stitch washcloth pattern by Purl Soho, which is a free pattern, using 3.5mm needles. I believe that's a US size 4, and using the Viking of Norway bamboo yarn, which is 50% cotton and 50% bamboo. It's really soft, and as I said, works really, really well for a dishcloth. So I'm following the pattern exactly as is written, apart from the fact that it's written for a sport weight yarn, and I'm using a DK weight, but it's a dishcloth, so the sizing doesn't really matter. And yeah, I'm really, really liking the pattern on this, and the texture that it's creating. I don't know how well you can see on camera, but if you're interested you can head over to my projects page on Ravelry, where I have a picture a bit closer up. So yeah, it should be, you know, maybe finished today or tomorrow. It's quite quick to knit up. It's a 4-row repeat, and there isn't that much purling, so it's quite nice, quite a nice pattern in that sense. And I'll probably make another one of this pattern in the other colour that I have. So yeah, I am really enjoying that one, and thank you again, Jacqueline, for the suggestion. I really like it when people comment down below with suggestions. I always look at them and really appreciate it. So yeah. And I think I have one more work in progress to show that I started just last night. I'm trying to use up a lot of the leftover yarns that I have, because I'm coming up with quite the collection now. And I wanted to use up this yarn that I used for my Sunday sweater by Petite Knit, which you might have seen on previous episodes. And this is using the Trysil Air blowgarn in the colour 158, which I really loved for the sweater, and I ended up with this much left. So I was trying to consider what to do with it, and I decided to make a headband. So I'm following the pattern called Braidhead or Flettepanne by Rille Rundt. I'm probably pronouncing that really badly, so I'll have it written up on the screen. And this is using a DK weight yarn, as it says in the pattern, 3.5mm needles, and the only change that I'm making is I'm making the headband a little bit narrower. The last headband I made was the headband with a twist by Morella Moments, which you might have seen on a previous episode, and I wish that I had made it a little bit narrower, so I'm making this one narrower because I just think that I prefer them like that. So I've cast on 39 stitches instead of 48. So you cast on and then you're knitting in the round for, I think it's about 18 centimetres, and then you separate it into 3 sections and knit those 3 sections separately, still in the round, and then you braid it and bring all the stitches back together and continue knitting and join it at the back. So I'll just have to make the 3 sections smaller. So as long as your cast on number is a multiple of 3, then it's fine. You can cast on however many that you want. So I don't know how much of this yarn it's going to use. Hopefully it will use up most of it, because I just want to kind of be using up all of my leftovers at the moment, so that I don't have to store it. So yeah, that's everything for today. The other thing I wanted to show was my Christmas socks that I've been working on, which if you've been watching the previous episodes you will have seen. I've made the tiniest of progress on the second sock, just with some of the striping, and then I'd run out of the white, so I went to buy some more. And when I got this yarn home, I thought it was the wrong colour, so I haven't been working on it. I feel like the white colour I have in the sock is a lot whiter, and this is more of kind of a natural white. Yeah, but I think I'm just going to have to use it, because I went back to the shop and it is the right colour number on it, and I couldn't see any yarns in the shop that were like a pure white. So hopefully it's not going to be too obvious, because I do want to be able to photograph these and put them in my pattern. I've been working on writing up this pattern and trying to grade it for different sizes. If anyone is interested in potentially test knitting these, then please send me an email. I have my email down below, because yeah, I would like some of the different sizes to be tested, just to check for fit and things like that. So I think that's everything for today. Didn't have that much to talk about, but like I said, I'm kind of saving up for a sweater quantity or a cardigan quantity of yarn, and yeah, so at the moment it's just a lot of small projects, and nothing wrong with that. I'm enjoying it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for everyone that's been commenting and subscribing. It's really lovely to be able to connect with other knitters around the world. So continue commenting below. Don't forget my Ravelry group that I've created. You can post some pictures, show me what you're working on, and yeah, hope to see you next time.